Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to part 2 of this post-game week show for game weeks 13 to 16. We covered the bottom half in the previous video. We now cover the top half. Let's jump right in. Right, starting off with Newcastle. I've managed to predict the outcome, at least of 2 games, which is, I think, pretty reasonable from my own point of view. But of course, quite clearly, the game against Palace, as I've said in the previous video, they were horrible in that game. The lowest XG ever, just god-awful. This is terrible. It was terrible from them. But then that draw against Liverpool, great, fantastic. To take points off Liverpool, I think was really, really good. Then to lose against Brentford, again, that's a little bit of inconsistency going on here again. And then to smack Leicester 4-0, I think that's very convincing. And of course, to beat Brentford again. So, uptick in form, obviously in the past 2 games after that loss against Brentford. I think they sort of found a little bit of a rhythm. But they've dropped 2 positions despite gaining 5 points. It's not very positive from me. I think, again, Newcastle, when Eddie Howe stepped into this club, I've always believed that he was able to do things. It's not about the money, in my opinion. It's about what Eddie Howe can do with a club. What he's done with Bournemouth, to me, was sensational. And with Newcastle, I felt there was a lot more potential when he came in. He really showed that he could do something with them. And I think it's just unfortunate, that he's not able to continue that form. I mean, managed to get Champions League with them for 1 season. But now they're like struggling a little bit. So, but again, as I said, it's still very tight in that midfield battle all the way to Europe, like from 6th, as I said, all the way down to like Manchester United in 13th. It's very, very tight. So again, they just need to have a good run of form, a certain period of time where they just need to have this really, really good form and just to catapult them up the table and try to, I guess, cement when they're there. But yeah, in my opinion, it's a C for Newcastle. Again, it's not the worst, but it's not the best either, in my opinion. So yeah, they've got to do better 100%. Maybe, again, it's just me expecting better from them in general, because I feel like they have the potential to do that. But again, that draw against Liverpool, obviously fantastic. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, Newcastle, not too bad, not too good. We'll see what happens with them over the course of the season. Right, Fulham. Not too bad, really, from Fulham. I think it's really good. I don't have much to say. Yes, they've gotten 6 points only from the past 4 game weeks, but they've played Tottenham, Arsenal, and Liverpool, and they've gotten draws from all these teams. In my opinion, that's really, really good. You've got to understand that when you're playing against like a top 6 team, for, as I said, 3 out of 4 game weeks, it's a challenge. And to still get points, a point at least in every single game in each of those 3 games, you've got to give the credit where credit is due. And to beat Brighton as well, when they're arguably their closest competitors when it comes to fighting for position in the Premier League. Fantastic. So 6 points from the 4 games. Brilliant. Climbed the position. Gained 6 points. Nothing much to say. It's an A for me. You do this sort of performance week in, week out. Great. It just shows to me that there is that the potential is there with Fulham. And Marco Silva, all we need to do is continue that form. It's not going to be easy, of course, but I see positives. And again, as I said, the rating is based on how they perform during this period of time. I think they've not put a foot wrong. If you're going to tell me that, yes, maybe they could have won one of the 3 games, but to me, they stood a higher chance of losing. And understand that 2 of the games were actually away as well, except the game against Arsenal. So it was going to be very, very difficult to travel and get a result. So I guess to come back with that great result, they've got to be pleased. To score goals in every game as well, I think it's great from Fulham. If they can continue like this, they'll be very, very fine for the rest of the season. I no doubt about it. Yeah, positives all round really for Fulham. Another team that's really, really impressed in my opinion so far this season. Right, Aston Villa. Now they've also managed to climb a position to 7th, and they've managed to get 6 points as well. But from a possible 12th, that's not really good. And understand that how Villa have been really, really good last season. And at the start of the season, they were really competitive as well. Don't get me wrong. Emery was really cooking something. But as of late, downturn in form, not getting the results, not consistent enough. Again, losses in the away games, except against Leipzig. But 3-0 defeat against Chelsea, I think that was too much in my opinion. I just feel that they could have done better. Yes, Chelsea are in great form. Or even worse, starting to pick up really, really good form. But I just feel that they should have done better. This isn't necessarily a very, very good result, and it just doesn't shed a good light on them. Against Brentford, 3-1 win. Good. Really, really good result in my opinion for that one. 1-0 win against Southampton, really slim, but have gotten a result over the line, which is necessary, in my opinion. Good. 3-2 win against Leipzig, another win in the Champions League, which suggests the Champions League form is still pretty decent. Great. Then to lose against Nottingham. Now this one to me, it's a flip of a coin, because Nottingham are just that good too. Like, these two clubs fighting neck and neck for Europe this season, arguably fighting. I guess it's quite tight. But again, you've got to understand that Villa, in my opinion, are still really, really good. Like, they have the squad in their disposal. Like, this isn't sort of this type of form shouldn't be the form that they should be having. I think they should have at least had a point against Chelsea and Nottingham. Again, rating could be harsh by giving them a C. I just felt like if, let's say, their result against Chelsea and Nottingham were draws, I think a B would have been possible. I think this is like a high C, essentially. It's just that because I think Villa, and to me, at least I know Villa, are better than this. They can do a lot better than that. So, not good enough in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, especially how they've also lost a lot of games prior to this as well. Yeah, so they've not been good, essentially. Maybe since October even. So yes, 6 points of position gained, but I just feel that there's a lot more from Villa. And to be honest, if they were able to translate a lot better results during this really tough period, they really could have been in the top 4 comfortably. So it's like, to me at least, it's a lost opportunity from Villa's point of view, and I just think that, yeah, they need to push again. But they can continue to prioritize the Champions League, in my opinion. Like, just go on both fronts. I mean, it's great exposure for the players in the Champions League, and Emery, you know, getting this Europe exposure as well. It's good for him, and this idea of fixture congestion, trying to tackle in that. Maybe fixtures, you know, having a little bit of too many competitions is sort of affecting their performance on the pitch. But there's something they've got to deal with if they're going to be a very good club that's going to always be fighting for Europe and going to be in Europe. They've got to do something about it. So, again, maybe C is a little bit harsh, but as I said, it's a high C. It would have been a B if results against Chelsea and Nottingham were slightly better. Right, next club. Speak of the devil, I guess. Nottingham Forest. I've got nothing to say. This club has been excellent. 9 out of 12 points. Climbed 3 positions in the top 4. Nothing more to say, honestly. Obviously, the defeat against Man City. Could they have gotten a better result? Maybe. I mean, considering how bad Man City have been throughout the entirety of when they started losing, or they started this horrible run of form, one could argue that they could have done better against City. I think a 3-0 sounds like a crushing defeat, and arguably maybe they could have dampened the spirits a little, but to get that 3-2 win against United, and then to beat Villa by a goal to 0, and considering how good the season they've been so far, despite me constantly being very worried about them, you know, getting losses left, right, centre, start of a downhill. Clearly, that hasn't really happened. Even when they lose, they come back with wins, which just shows how good it's been, how fantastic Nuno has been doing at the club. A for me, 100%. The fight for that top 4 now from Nottingham, brilliant. Nothing more to say. Again, as I say, another club that's been very impressive. And that's why when there's nothing more to say except I'm being impressed by the club, you just got to move on, really. So obviously I do hope Nottingham are going to continue. Yeah, I'm just impressed, really. The results they've been getting are superb, and I really just hope this can continue from them. Right, now moving on to 6th place, Tottenham. Yeah, no. Tottenham, not good enough. Draw against Fulham, okay. The loss against Bournemouth, to me, unacceptable, despite Bournemouth being on really, really good form. From Tottenham's perspective, unacceptable. 4-3 thriller against Chelsea, fair enough. To draw against Rangers in the Europa League, not very great either, but to still beat Southampton 5-0, good. They've only got 4 points, and that's dropped them 4 positions. The difference between them and Nottingham, you can see that. Despite, I think they both had 19 points. Yeah, they had 19 points by the end of game week 12. But Nottingham are now 5 points more than Tottenham. Nottingham were able to capitalise on results much better than Tottenham. You can see where they are in the Premier League table. The inconsistency from Tottenham, again, is just remarkable in my opinion. They can beat City 4-0, but then they come into games and just draw. It's very hard to predict Tottenham, like how they're going to do. This is not good from Tottenham, you know. Yes, I think Anghe is doing a decent job to a certain extent, but this is not it, is it? Like, you've just got to do better than that. So, not good enough for me. It's a C for them. Yeah, just think a lot of lost opportunities, really. Like, I think should have beaten Rangers, should have at least gotten a point against Bournemouth, and really should have won the game against Fulham. I mean, Tottenham are Tottenham. The quality is there at the club. It's just how they're going to try to translate that really into the pitch. So, onto the pitch rather. So, not good enough. That's it, really. Well, another club that one can argue that they've been doing really well, but as of late, form has been awful. Brighton. The new manager has come in, done a reasonably job, not reasonably, it's a really, really good job at the start of the season. But these 4 game weeks is something to forget from them. They've not won a single game in these past 4 game weeks. Managed to only pick up 2 points from a possible 12. And they've just been poor, in my opinion. Draw against Southampton, draw against Leicester, still very iffy. Then to lose to Fulham, who you're competing with for a position, and then to lose to Palace is unacceptable in my opinion. They dropped from 5th to 9th with only 2 points in the past 4 games. Is it a harsh rating to give them a D? I don't think so. I mean, considering how good they've been so far the entire season up until that point when they started this 4 game non-winning streak here, this is not good. They've got to find form again. They've got to dig deep as a club again to just figure out how they're going to solve this little bubble. This sort of like situation was what I would have predicted with Nottingham Forest, not necessarily Brighton. Could this just be a dip? Maybe, and I do hope it's just a dip because I just think that they can perform on a good day. And I just think that they can really perform. I mean, like the loss against Palace when second half started, yes, I mean the first half they were dominated by Palace 100%, but when the second half started, they were really knocking on the door and had really good chances. Obviously, Dean Henderson was fantastic, made really good saves, but that stint where they were really knocking on the door against Palace, they needed that for the entirety of the 90 minutes. They just didn't have that. And even when they were knocking on the door, they just couldn't score. They only scored like after Palace scored their third, so not good enough, I guess, from Brighton's perspective. I think they need to be optimistic. They need to be positive. They need to have high expectations of themselves in the Premier League season, and definitely. I think they're capable of so much more, and I really want them to do better than this. So, yeah, it's a D for me, and I just hope they continue to find ways to go back to the form that they were in at the start of the year. Right, Arsenal. I mean, 8 points out of possible 12, and people can obviously argue that shouldn't have drawn against Fulham, shouldn't have drawn against Everton, but the rest have obviously picked up wins. In the Champions League, they're doing really, really good. I think they're third in the table, and, key wins against Arsenal, United. Yeah, to me, it's a reasonably good run of form that Arsenal are having, but of course, it's not the Arsenal last year where they were really fighting for the title. The 6 points behind Liverpool, and Liverpool have a game in hand, so it's quite challenging, I'd say, to still fight for the title. It's possible, but they've just got to be inch perfect moving forward. So, but I mean, at least they're in the semi-finals of the EFL Cup, which is great. Gabriel Jesus with a hat-trick, and if he decides to turn up for the rest of the season, I think Arsenal are in good hands to get a good amount of goals and maybe get good results as well. So, 8 points gained, moved them up 1 position, which is good in my opinion. It's a B though for me. I still think this is not the Arsenal that I'm expecting. Of course, I think if they were able to, I'd say, change that Fulham or Everton game to a win, I probably would give them an A. It's not bad from Arsenal. It's just that I think we would expect better from them. And I think it's obviously has been a turn in form for the better, obviously, throughout the past, how many games they've played? 6 games here. So, but I think there's just more to expect still from Arsenal. I think the finishing puzzle is still not there. Like, they still need to complete certain things to make things very smooth week in, week out. To really be confident every week. So, but yeah, otherwise, it's good from Arsenal. I think top 4 is still very possible from them. The title, I'm not exactly too sure just yet. They could still do it. They could still fight for it at the bare minimum. They just need to keep pushing. And yeah, just as though they don't drop points, they do stand a good chance, obviously. But yeah, Arsenal, I think they're doing okay. It's just that I think when earlier in the season they weren't doing so well, those sort of results have probably let them down a little. But in my opinion, it's not too bad. Again, B could be harsh, but to me, it's not an A. I just think for Arsenal standards, an A just has to be like really, really, really good. Not perfect, as I said. Just another win would put them an A, which I mean could be very high expectation, but it's Arsenal, and when they've been fighting for the title for like the last 2 seasons or so, sorry, they do and they should be better than that. Right, for a club that didn't do necessarily that well last season, a lot of wobbly form, and they had a new manager in this year, and people were not very confident about him, but he has shown that he's been able to do the job thus far. 5 wins in a row for this club. What more do you ask for from Chelsea Football Club? They've been fantastic. I wouldn't say they're perfect, but they've been brilliant on all cylinders. Firing on all cylinders, getting the results over the line. Yes, the thriller against Tottenham, but convincing wins against Villa, against Southampton, and against Astana in the Conference League. Yeah, maybe the game against Brentford was a little bit too close for comfort, but a win is still a win nonetheless. They've been fantastic, haven't they? Especially in the Conference League as well. I mean, yes, the teams arguably aren't to their standard, but they've managed to get the results going their way. And I mean, they're sitting quite sure top of the table in that one. So I think they stand a really, really good chance of winning the Conference League this year, Chelsea. And I think they stand a really, really good chance of being in the Champions League via league finish this year. Maresca has been doing a phenomenal job. Cole Palmer performing 100%. The team has been gelling. I don't know what else to say. I think the test will come when they play against Liverpool. That will be really, really fun to watch. But otherwise, it's been great from Chelsea. I think they've not really put a foot wrong. Yes, of course, they have their points dropped earlier on. And maybe one can argue again, it's Maresca trying to get to grips with the team, etc. But he has proved his haters wrong, right? Maresca, when he let Leicester... the gap, arguably, from Leicester to Chelsea, the gap is sounding pretty big. But he did win the championship with Leicester, and even then also he had a lot of wobbly form. Leicester were really comfortable at the top of the table at that point in the championship, but they've also bottled quite a bit and it ended up being really, really tight. But nonetheless, still fantastic, especially considering these past couple of games. It's an A for me, 100%. No questions asked. They have absolutely capitalized on every opportunity thus far in the past 5 games that they've played, and they just can continue, essentially. And I think I would like them to continue. It just shows how strong, and this is like the Chelsea that we used to see when Jose Mourinho, Maurizio Sarri, Antonio Conte, when they all won their titles with them, they were this good. Like, we saw Chelsea was really confident going into each game and getting the results, digging deep. It wasn't like last year or 2 years ago, when they were really, really struggling. So yeah, but don't get me wrong, I think Poch did a really, really good job with the team. It's just that this year I think they've just decided to really do one step further or go one step further as a club, and they've just managed to get performances in. But yeah, it's been fantastic from Chelsea. No other comment. They've been brilliant. Now this club, I don't even want to go on a rant, really. It's really straightforward how I feel about this club at the moment. To lose this many games, to only get 1 win in your past 11 games. This is new territory. This is a diabolical territory. I don't have anything to say except I am just thoroughly disappointed, really. I watched the Liverpool game. We were dominated. We were playing like amateurs. Terrible. Winning against Nottingham just sort of gave me some hope, and ended up being false hope, because we then drew with Crystal Palace, which to me is just unacceptable. And the red card didn't even make a difference to the game, because we were already drawing 2-2. It's just terrible in my opinion. Then to lose 2-0 to Juve in the Champions League, which then now puts our Champions League positions in jeopardy. I think we're seeing like 20th or 22nd in the Champions League table. Got awful as well. And the game against Man United. I wish I could talk more about that game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it right now. The goal, Gvardiol, fantastic. Yes, so all over the place. That goal was just so scruffy. But at that point in time, I was like, any goal that goes in is crucial for us. We need to just get the goal in and start trying to be a lot more creative moving forward. But United were arguably more creative than us. United were able to create more clear-cut chances than us. And I thought we were holding ourselves really, really well. All the way to when Nunes decided to put the tackle in. And I had the exact same reaction as Pep Guardiola. I was just like, why would you do that? Just mess it up. We've given away a lot of penalties. Every single game that you see, we've conceded two or more goals. Except the game against Nottingham. It's not good. This is clearly not City. And I'm not even going to say, like, is it Rodri's fault? Is it whose fault? It's just not. I think generally the score is aging. Generally things need to change at the club. The depth is obviously not there. Injuries sort of hinder us a little bit. But I just don't think Rodri is the answer to the problem. But if he is, then I'll be very, very surprised. Like, one man can really change the whole complexity of the games moving forward. Apparently, like, Rodri's scheduled to come back earlier. But even then, like, at this juncture, you just need the uptick in form, like, immediately. Every single game week, every single match we go in, I'm like, you've got to change. You've got to turn this around, lads. You've got to turn this around. And the fact that we're now not seeing that turnaround is just getting more and more worrying. Yeah, in my opinion, like, Palace United really just should have won those games. Like, things would be a lot more positive had we won those two games. It wouldn't have made everything look so bad. Like, dropping points is expected, I guess, and at this point it sounds okay to drop points. Yes, I know City are not really known for dropping points, but yeah, this has just got awful. I don't have anything much to say. It's an F from me, really. Like, I'm not even critical at this point. I think everybody's been quite critical of City, but I think if I want to flip it around, in my opinion, is that isn't this good to see City losing this much? Not from a laughing standpoint, but more of a just, a competitive standpoint. You can't expect City, right, who've won 4 in a row, to come into the season to be as good as they've been. But again, it just shows that expectation that many people have of this club, and even me, myself, right? But yes, as much as I'm very annoyed at the results that we're having, it's reflective of how bad we've been. And you've got to respect that. You've got to accept that. And you've just got to accept as well the fact that competition, we're probably not going to be as competitive this year. The title is probably go to another team. It should go to another team. At this point in time, we don't even deserve the title at all. If we even get top 4, great. And understand that now we're behind Nottingham Forest in the table. Things are changing crazily. So, nothing more to say about this club. I just think it's terrible, horrible. They just need to change. It's like I'm saying this every week now. Since this bad run of form they've been having. We'll see what happens when they play against Villa this weekend. And we'll talk about that in the pre-game week show for Game Week 17. But of course, the last team on this list and for this 2-part video is Liverpool. Now, in my opinion, how have they done? Not the best. I'll give you the rating straight away. It's a B. It's not an A. Despite the B top of the table. But the rationale is because draw against Newcastle, draw against Fulham, it's just, I think, a bit uncharacteristic of considering the form that they've been in. And that 1-0 tight win against Girona, that is also not very convincing in my opinion. So, certain things, not really, really good from them. And 2-1 win, a tight result against Southampton, isn't very convincing either in my opinion. Are we seeing a potentially wobbly Liverpool? I'm not too sure. But if Liverpool are going to start become wobbly, I think Chelsea are going to usurp them, to be honest. Chelsea are really knocking on the door right now. But regardless, Liverpool still have a considerably healthy lead at the top of the table. And they've obviously not played Everton. And I think arguably they're expected to beat Everton. But again, depending on when it's being scheduled and considering their schedules then, the fixture congestion could be a problem for Liverpool. They may not be able to put out a very strong starting 11. And that could result in Everton probably getting a result out of that game. But regardless, it's still very good from Liverpool, don't get me wrong. I think the results they've been having are really, really good. It's just that it could be better when you've got 2 draws now in the Premier League, 2 additional draws in the Premier League. It just shows that this team, yes, they can be fantastic, but they've also have their wobbly times. The concern, I guess, ultimately is that if this persists, it's going to be a problem. But if it's just like temporarily, then sure. Yeah, but otherwise, still very good for Liverpool, to get me wrong. This club is still doing exceptionally well. Arne Slot has been able to really cook. So yeah, nothing more to say about this club. Obviously, them and Man City, a huge contrast. But yeah, I think as of now, in my opinion, the title fight could probably be Liverpool, Chelsea. Arsenal might be able to somewhat contribute to a three-way title fight, but we'll see how the season pans out. But that'll be it, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching this two-part video. I mean, a lot of things have happened, and I hope I've made this as concise as I can, my thoughts as well as concise as I can. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable these past couple of game weeks, albeit City have been losing constantly. I mean, yeah, but elsewhere in the Premier League, a lot of actions were going on. So you can look forward to the pre-Game Week 17 show, which will come out as soon as possible before the first game for that week. But yeah, again, get discussing in the comments down below how you guys felt, how the Premier League has been, any team that has impressed you, any team that has really disappointed, let them know, get discussing in the comments down below, and of course, drop a like on the video if you guys are enjoying this series and this video as well, and of course, subscribe if you're new around here. I will see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.